why logically and rationally God does not exist. Can you please do that?
I don't need to.
Okay, so you're asserting God, but you don't have a rational defense of God's non-existence?
Well, it's unfalsifiable, but other things are unfalsifiable too.
Dude, listen to me. Do you understand that in a world without an identifiable, defensible absolute, such as the self-revealing God, falsifiability becomes meaningless. In a world where you can fundamentally know nothing, then there is no falsifiability for anything. Can you falsify something in a world where you can fundamentally know nothing?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Gotcha, bitch!
Yeah, maybe to some degree, yeah, you can't really falsify anything.
No, it's not to some degree. I love these stupid qualifications. If you can ultimately know nothing, then affirmation and falsification are impossible.
Everything's black and white with you.
It's like, it's either true or it's not true. It's not your opinion. Like, in my opinion, you're an idiot.
I live in a world of grays. Probabilities.
No, you see, you're a master at bullshitting and smugness. Do you have a rational defense that God does not exist?
Yes.
Give it to me.
You're minimizing assumptions. It's the best we can do on anything.
Why? Like you're mentally defective. Why do you keep on going back to something that I've rebutted? I've already explained to you that statement is just a statement. That's a statement of preference, not of a logical, necessary conclusion.
Yeah, but you can't do logical, necessary conclusions on an unfalsifiable thing. Like if I said there's an undetectable dragon in here.
You're not understanding. Okay, so you're going to be educated today. The falsification criterion is a historical permutation of logical positivism. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
Okay. So logical positivism had its reign, and I'll try to be as quick as possible, in the mid part of the 20th centuries. It was annihilated in philosophy, and not even atheist philosophers till this day will advocate for logical positivism. Logical positivism is that a proposition or a statement, in order to be accepted as true or meaningful, must be confirmable by your sense perception. Okay? So logical positivism didn't pass its own test. It's a self-refuting position. Okay? The falsification principle that you are invoking, okay, on a grand scale, that all propositions must be in principle falsifiable, right? Otherwise, they're not to be regarded as either meaningful or true. The falsification principle itself is self-refuting. Okay? So let me ask you this question. Your position is, in order for something to be true or meaningful, it must be in principle falsifiable?
What do you think about that? In order for something to be true,
how is the falsification criterion that you're advancing, how is that falsifiable?
Okay. So I would say that something being unfalsifiable is not an argument that it's true.
You're not answering the question. You're just going off onto a
It's a rebuttal. That's my rebuttal.
Listen carefully. I actually am a bit more educated on this than you are. How is the falsification criterion that you're laying out, how is that fundamentally falsifiable?
I don't think it is.
Good. Then you're advancing it as a self-contradiction.
Uh-huh.
Do you realize that? In the same way that logical positivism is self-refuting, and the falsification criterion as used, let me finish, because I'm educated on this. You're using the falsification criterion universally, okay? Now, so because you say God isn't falsifiable, it doesn't establish God's non-existence. But the falsification criterion is self-refuting.
I agree.
Do you understand that the falsification criterion is self-refuting?
No, I agree, right? But
okay,
I don't.
So I don't want to hear about
falsification. Not falsifiable doesn't mean it's not true.
Okay.
But you have to also contend with the other unfalsifiable things.
Dude, you're
right?
worse than teenagers that I talk to. I'm waiting for you to tell me why God doesn't exist.
Because you're making extra assumptions for no reason.
Okay, this is the 5th time you've invoked Occam's razor. Is Occam's razor preferential and therefore relativistic, or is Occam's razor is logical? Is Occam's razor logically determinative?
Doesn't need to be.
Okay, I didn't say it needed to be. I said, is it?
It isn't.
Good.
And that's not a problem.
Therefore, when you invoke Occam's razor as a rationale, it's not logically determinative that God doesn't exist.
Do you think that it's that
Can you
if you
stop
have
ignoring what I just said to you?
Can I ask a question? No, I didn't. I answered
And
it.
if you answer what I just said to you,
All right.
if Occam's razor, when applied, is not logically determinative, then you haven't given me a rational grounding that God does not exist. Occam's razor
Oh, I disagree. Totally
Occam's
disagree.
razor is preferential. It is not logically determinative. Therefore, when
It
you
doesn't
invoke
need to be
Occam's
determinative.
razor, I'm trying to finish because you don't understand this because you're not educated. When you invoke Occam's razor for the 5th time that I have refuted systematically, that it is not
You haven't
logically
refuted it.
determinative. It is simply preferential.
No, you're making a false dichotomy. You're saying it either needs to be logically determinative
Dude,
or it's not
you're just
rational.
a
That's what you're saying.
You're
But that's
just
not
a
true.
pathological deceiver at this point. You're just a walking, talking bullshitter. Okay, do you understand
You're not
Occam's
even
razor
handled while you're
does not
arguing.
get you... Okay, listen carefully. If you can ultimately know nothing, then you can't have a rational justification that God doesn't exist, correct?
Right, well, not 100%.
No,
Right?
Okay,
Not
you're
100%.
you're confusing knowledge with certitude. Do you understand that knowledge and certitude are two different things?
I've never heard of certitude.
Certitude means one's confidence or level of certainty. Certainty is not the same thing as knowledge. Okay? So, for example, somebody can know something but have any number of varying degrees of certitude about it, even a minimal certainty, while at the same time they can truly know certain propositions, even if they cannot express to themselves or others that they know it. That's called tacit knowledge. So don't conflate knowledge with certitude. Now, if you cannot ultimately know anything at all, which you have stated, then how can you know that God doesn't exist?
I don't know that God doesn't exist.
Oh, okay. So then you're arbitrarily declaring God doesn't exist?
I'm saying it's less likely that God exists than does
That's a
exist.
category error. You cannot apply
Okay.
You cannot apply a probabilistic assessment to what is putatively the singular ground of being because there's no further background information. You can only assess probabilistic scenarios when there's background information as to what's static and non-static. So when you talk about God probably existing or not existing, you're committing a category error as much as saying, what does blue taste like? So do you understand that that's a category error?
I don't. I disagree that it's a category
It's
error.
a category error. Okay. When we have a worldview where God conceptually or putatively is the ground of being, there is no background information or context for God. Correct?
Yeah, sure.
And so God definitionally or conceptually is a non-contingent entity whose existence is not subject to what, or the product of, what would be static and dynamic. You need background information of what's static and non-static or dynamic in order to make probabilistic declarations. So therefore, I've explained it again for the second time, you're committing a category error.
I don't think it's a category error. I
just
think that you're
explained it to you twice.
conflating.
Okay,
You're
probabilistic
conflating the
success.
probability.
Listen,
No.
okay, wow. Either
I can tell
you're
you what you're
really
doing wrong.
obtuse and you shouldn't be on
You don't wanna
TikTok,
know?
or you're being purposely evasive.
You wanna know?
So listen carefully. Do
you
probabilistic
afraid what I'm about to say?
do probabilistic assessments require background information?
Why are you afraid?
Why?
Well,
Okay, listen
say
to me.
it.
If you're gonna be a little smarmy little dirtbag, I'm gonna leave. Now,
It's not going to be that long, I
okay,
promise.
listen carefully. In order to make a probabilistic assessment of X, must X be subject to and encompassed by background information?
I didn't make a probabilistic assessment.
Yes, you did.
Of
You said
X.
God probably doesn't exist. Okay, I'm done with you.
No, that's an assessment about my certainty. It's not an assessment about the truth of the matter.
You are impossible. You are a pathological liar. You liar! You're a pathological contrarian. When I show you time and time again how you make fallacy after fallacy after fallacy, you just ignore it like the black
disagree.
Look, I'm done with you. I will
Maybe
not be
I'm
coming on here.
stupid.
You're so stupid.
Again, I will not be coming on.
I'm
here
trying
again.
my best.
Okay, no, you're not. And even you're lying about that. Either you're
I am
psychologically deranged. Either you're psychologically
I
deranged.
could be.
Can I
How
finish?
could I know I'm not?
Either because I have enough experience in dealing with atheists over 15 years, and what I'm seeing you constantly do is you're dodging. Did I not explain to you? This is the proof of the pudding. Did I not explain to you that Occam's razor is simply a statement of preferentiality? It is not in any way determinative.
That's good, though. That's good. That's what I want.
It's not, because when you rely on Occam's razor, it's not determinative of whether God exists or not.
Right, I'm not trying to make it. I'm trying to figure out...
I asked you to give me a logically determinative rationale that God does not exist. I asked you that question. Did I not ask you that question multiple times?
Yeah. No, you said a rational...
You know what? I'm done with you. You are a pathological contrarian and evasive.
Well, I guess I'll tell you what I'm going to tell you when you leave, I guess.
You're a very...
You don't want to hear it when you're on.
Listen, you're a very deceitful person. Bye. These people are pathological liars, okay?